Hi and welcome back for another edition of the update for my garden, what's growing this week. And yes, as you can see, my cucumber tower is crazy. So, like I said, when life gives you cucumbers, I guess you make pickles. So this was the harvest from today. I guess this is why they say to check your cucumbers basically every day. We've had so much rain the last month, and it's been really warm here the last couple days, so they really took off. I've already done a couple of jars of cucumbers, but I can see I'm going to be pretty busy the next several days making cucumbers and relish and whatnot, so I'm probably going to be searching the internet for what else to do with cucumbers. So if anybody has any suggestions, I would love to hear what you do when you have an abundance of cucumbers like this. Some of them got quite big, which I hate to see them that big, but I'm still going to eat them. They're not going to go to waste. Probably 90% of it will go into pickles and relish, so that's my goal. But like I said, when life gives you cukes, you make pickles. So that's what I'm going to do. And just to update on what's going on in the garden, I actually did pick some of my Brandywine tomatoes, my pink hybrid tomatoes, and my 4th of July tomatoes. And I made my first batch of pasta sauce yesterday. I only got 2 small pint jars, but I was really happy with that. I was only expecting to get 1, but I was able to get 2, so I'm pretty happy about that. Shane's already got plans to use it on Friday to make a big pasta meal, so I don't even bother putting dates on my pasta because I know it's just not going to last. So I was very happy about that. Here's my little garden buddy looking to pick cucumbers, or excuse me, not cucumbers, peas. Those are her thing. Peas. Sorry, I got cucumbers on the brain. But everything's growing really good. I've got some green peppers growing. The green beans are actually starting to go by just a little bit, but we've been picking those and eating those for snacks. I had picked all the turnips, so I did replant in that spot right there where it looks like fresh dirt. Didn't really get a lot of broccoli this year, so I was a little disappointed with that. It's probably something I won't grow next year. It takes up a lot of space, and like I said, they were really sparse this year, and they flowered so quick. So I don't know if that just had to do with all the rain that we got, which could very well be. But I might not do that next year. I do have some growing in the greenhouse, which we'll go check out in a little bit. But as far as planting them in the garden, I might just skip that for next year. And we've got some corn growing here. You can see I've got some nice silks. That's probably, I think this one right here is the biggest one I have so far. So hopefully we'll be enjoying that soon. I've got a beautiful winter squash right here that I'm very anxious to try. I've never grown them before, so I'm assuming it probably needs maybe a little bit more color, but it looks like it's really close, so I'm very anxious to try that. It's a winter squash. It was Burpee's butternut, so I assume it's going to taste like a butternut squash, so I'm really happy about that. Like I said, I've got quite a few ears of corn growing. They're probably all going to be ready at different times. Some might not even take, but I don't usually get a ton of corn anyway. But if I can get, a dozen ears of corn out of this, I'd be fine with that. So this was where my summer squash was, and I actually pulled it up today because it was really past. The summer squash, this one too, I pulled up that one. The rain really did a job on them, so I lost a lot of those crops when we got all that rain last month. I mean, we were inundated with rain. I think for the month we had like 15 inches of rain. So needless to say, I really wasn't watering my garden much the last several weeks. But they were starting to rot a little bit and things just weren't looking good. So I decided to pull those up and get rid of those. And we got some Brussels sprouts growing here. They're starting to come along. They're kind of hard to see. They grow they're growing right up against the stalks. But I know that's more of like a cold crop. They say they taste better when they get a frost. So hopefully those can survive until then. And as you can see, Maddie is looking to pick her own peas. Aren't you, Maddie? She likes the peas. So So that's the update for the garden. I guess from now on I'm going to have to check my cucumbers every day, not every 3 days, just to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. So I will be busy with that. But let's go check out what's going on in the greenhouse. Before we head over to the greenhouse, my sunflowers have been going crazy. At least this one plant, it's got, oh God, it must have close to 8 flowers on it. I actually did pluck one earlier that the leaves, or excuse me, the flowers had all fallen off of. So I looked up how to dry them, so I'm going to see if I can dry it and do my own sunflower seeds. I actually did take some of the seeds out and kind of nibbled on them. The casing of it was a little tough. I know, like I said, they're not really ready to eat right away, but it actually didn't taste that bad. The insides just tasted like a sunflower seed. So that's what I'm going to do with these. I guess they do have seeds. Like I said, I wasn't sure earlier in the season if this was just almost like a decorative type of flower, but the seeds in it look good. The birds, you can see there's bees. The birds have been picking away at this one, like you can see. So if they can eat them, so can I. So I have one in the house right now that's drying, and I'm going to see if I can do some roasted sunflower seeds with it. And so I did pull up the flowers that were in these little pots here. They had gone past, and they were pretty dry, so I pulled those up over the weekend. I'll probably plant some fall flowers in there. I actually do have a mum on my deck that I had planted from seeds, so I might do something like that in front here. I haven't really decided yet if I'm going to plant something for fall or just leave it like that and wait for the spring so I can put up something new. But I came in here this weekend and I actually did quite a bit of weeding, pulling up all kinds of the crap that was on the ground. It was just getting really lush and fluffy and out of control. I haven't done this corner yet because, to be honest with you, there is some sort of spider web down there with a black hole type hole in it, and I don't know what lives in there, and I really don't want to find out, so that whatever lives in there can stay there. So I wasn't touching this corner. But these onions, they're fine. The grass isn't interfering with anything. This tomato plant is huge. It's probably taller than me. I'm about 5 feet tall, and it's just a hair taller than me. It does have, there are 2 tomatoes that are on it. If you can see those, hopefully those will turn. But it's doing really good. It's got a bunch of flowers up here. I really didn't expect it to get this big, but I'm very happy with it so far, so that's good. We've got our spinach over here. I actually made a quiche, a homemade quiche a couple weeks ago with my own spinach. It was very good. So I boiled that up before I put it in my quiche, and it was delicious. I was very happy to have used that. And I've got my salad mix lettuce here. I actually made Shane lunch today, and it had some of the lettuce in it and actually some cherry tomatoes from the garden. I've got my abundance of basil, which will end up being dried basil eventually. And I've got some little lettuce here. This I actually do have to transplant because it's starting to outgrow. I think the one on the right is the black-seeded Simpson, and the one on the left is just some gourmet mix. So it's a few different kinds. But these are the broccoli and cabbage that I have repotted. So this is going to be the start of my fall crops for the greenhouse, which obviously I haven't ever had a greenhouse before, so I'm going to see how that goes, see how fall and, you know, early winter maybe crops grow in the greenhouse. Again, this is more basil, which is going to be, again, dried. More, this is cauliflower. There's some broccoli here, some cabbage. Again, that's fall crops. These are going to be some fall herbs that I will intend on drying. I've got some marjoram, some thyme, and some parsley. And this was the basil that I had from earlier in the season that I've already clipped once and dried, so I'll do the same with that. These stalks are getting a little bit past, so the leaves on it are still good, so I will dry those. And I'll do what I did before. I dried them in the oven on the lowest temperature for just under an hour, and then they crisp right up, throw them in a little container, and they're good to go. There are some new growth on there, though, so I'm actually happy about that, but that will end up being dried. The onions are still looking good, and these are the onions that I planted from seeds. So that's what I've done the last week or two since you last saw my last video. So I've been busy just doing all kinds of stuff. Like I said, did do some weeding in here. I'm very happy because I do have tons of big pots for next year, which I think I'll really benefit from with my tomatoes in the garden. We're actually even talking about potentially planting another small garden bed outside the greenhouse just to have more tomatoes, because that seems to be what we really get the most use out of, is our tomatoes. And it is about mid-90s in here today. It's really humid outside, and obviously this really holds in the heat. But that's what I've been doing, and my project for next spring, and I would really appreciate if anybody has any suggestions on what to put down for a floor to really cut down on the weeds. I know I can probably use some weed fabric, and then, like, what does everybody else do? I obviously don't have bricks under this. It was just built on the ground. The spot in the middle that you see here, I did have just like a board that was down, just a piece of plywood. And obviously, you know, this is where I walk the most, so it doesn't really get any weeds. But for the spots that don't get weeds, what do people do? I had put a piece of plywood down here, and I actually ended up taking it off because there was like an infestation of ants. I don't know what kind of ants they were, but you can see it's all dug up here. I actually had to spray them to get rid of them. So I don't really think I want to put plywood down because it seems like it just attracts the bugs. So anybody that has outside greenhouses like this that are just put on the ground, let me know your thoughts or suggestions on what I can do next year to cut down on the weeds. I would really appreciate that, because I don't know what to do, and I don't want to put something down that's going to get bugs and critters and whatnot. So I am looking for suggestions. So as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate any comments or suggestions or just anything. Just stop by and say hello. And again, thank you for watching. Please click that like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos. And I look forward to seeing you next time. So thanks again, and happy gardening.